And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I am LB, and as a genderqueer person, any and all pronouns work for me. I'm happy to be spending this beautiful morning with all of you. After last week's much needed and very intense at time rain, it was nice to see the sun again yesterday and today. Today's service is exploring the shifting sands of change, how to recognize the stress response and practice strategies for being more present. As we get started on our worship journey today, I invite you to take a moment to look around at all of us gathered here together, if vision is available to you. Make eye contact and acknowledge each other's presence here today. Perhaps silently offer a bow, a wave, or throw a peace sign.
And good morning, I'm Reverend Wendy, and also as a genderqueer person, but still different genderqueer person, I prefer that you use my name rather than pronouns, because they don't feel like a good fit for me. And let us notice where we are right now. Literally, figuratively, all the ways. Are you in the future? Are you worried about the past, or are you right here? Just notice. And if it's available to you, you might invite yourself into, as fully as you can, this moment, with all the thoughts and the feelings, to be giving yourself the gift of the present. And perhaps, after whatever kind of week you've had, is to choose a hand, either hand, and place it gently on your chest. Maybe give a little gentle, reassuring pat. And say gently to yourself, "Welcome, dear one. Welcome, dear one." And just notice how it feels to be gentle with yourself. Welcome, dear one. Welcome to this moment. And now, if you will, gesture your hands perhaps forward with your palms towards the sky. And seeing or sensing others in the room, maybe with whom you made eye contact with before, or those in the Zoom sanctuary, to say gently to others, "Welcome, dear ones. Welcome, dear ones. Welcome, dear ones. Welcome, dear ones." Welcome to one and all. Let us have a transition of our own into one of relative stillness. Parts of our bodies are always moving if we're still breathing. Consider placing your feet on or towards the floor, your hands comfortably in your lap, your gaze softened towards the floor or the chalice, or maybe even your eyes closed. Today we'll start with a breathing meditation and then conclude this time with a prayer. So let's focus on our breath for a bit. And just notice. What does your body do as you breathe? Does your chest rise and fall? Or your belly? Your shoulders? Does the air feel warm or cool as it enters your nose or mouth? Is it a shallow, raspy breath? Is it a shaky, nervous breath? Is it a slow, nourishing breath? Is it just breath? Starting right where we are in this moment, Just being aware of what our body does and what the breath feels like as it breathes. As we breathe. If you want, you could try slowing yours down a bit. Maybe taking a slightly longer inhale and a slightly longer exhale. Unless paying attention to your breath is a stressful thing, and I know it is for some people. Depending on the kinds of trauma one has experienced, you can just opt out of this. Just chill while the rest of us experiment and see how this feels. You bearing witness to us can have a positive impact on our experience, so bear witness with care. And if you are okay with breath work, notice. Notice the breathing. Notice your body. Notice your monkey brain if it's jumping around or resisting. Just be with it. And then notice what happens when you actually pay attention to this thing that often just happens all day long without much attention. Staying present with the breath allows us to practice staying present in this moment. Not fretting about the future or worrying about the past. Just breathing in and breathing out. And as our breathing continues, we gently ease into a time of prayer. Now, that word might have changed your breathing. Some of us are more or less comfortable with such things. And the reality is that prayer can be a lot of different things. Some touch their forehead to the ground in humility. Some kneel and bow and ask for guidance or forgiveness. Some sit at the bedside of a deceased loved one for days, chanting words of care, gratitude, and blessings for safe passage. Some cry out in desperation, others in thanksgiving. Still others simply to remind ourselves that we are held by something larger. Whether or not we believe in God, we can pray. Whether or not we have been hurt or harmed by the religion of our younger selves, we can pray. Now, in a way that feels right to us, even if a little awkward at its newness for some of us. We get to claim for ourselves what it means to pray. The religious right wing does not get to define these words for us. We get to. We need to. Freedom of speech and assembly and religion and all. As I offer this prayer, do whatever translating you need to do for your theology. I'm going to start with Spirit of Life and Love, but maybe God is better for you, or Holy One, or Sacred Mystery, or Essence of Humanity, or Mother Earth. When we practice, we make space for one another's free and responsible search for truth and meaning that way, because we Unitarian Universalists value pluralism. Spirit of life and love, we are in really troubling times. And there are days when it is hard to remember the humanity of those who seek to demonize ours. We can become so angry or afraid. We want human beings to stop causing suffering to others with their fear. It is so easy to judge others, but judgment just further puts distance between us. We can want to fight, to defend, to shame others for being so far afield. Some of us want to burn it all down, protest in the streets, shut down the government, throw them all in jail. The desire to fight is an important signal, just as important as noticing our breath. Merciful One, as the rule of law wavers, the Supreme Court buckles, corporations bow, and television companies obey in advance, we might want to run away, hide somewhere, take flight away from the nonsense. Flight is an important signal, too. Great mystery with so much misinformation, so many hateful words, so many lies, so much cruelty, we can become overwhelmed, and we may find ourselves frozen, unsure what to do, our brains silent or scrambled when we need them to help us figure out what to do. Our freeze response is an important signal, too. When we are in fight, flight, or freeze mode, we particularly need one another. Sacred circle of life, remind us of who we are and who we aspire to become. That our fight might be focused on justice. That our flight might become stealthy watchfulness. That our freeze be comforted by another who meets us where we are and gently encourages our frontal lobe to come back online. Ancestral wisdom, help us know what to do to protect those we love, those who are in harm's way, those who are now waking up to what is happening. Give us courage to strengthen our democracy. Help us to keep showing up and staying present so we can interrupt the lies. Help us to stay focused on what matters and not get distracted by the noise. Help us to make courageous decisions with love at the center and take collective action to meet this moment together. And now that Assata Shakur is with the ancestors, let us remember her wise words. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We breathe in peace, and we breathe out gratitude for the gifts of this life, letting our chains fall away. May it be so. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be. Let us have some moments for our own internal prayers or meditations, and after some shared quiet, Maria will play a brief interlude to help us gently continue with the service.
Being present has been a lifelong process for me. I have always struggled with anxiety. It's a hereditary thing. My mom is anxious. My grandmother on my father's side was a very anxious person. And my siblings and I swapped stories of how our anxieties manifest in weird ways. And in 2019, my anxiety had reached an all-time high and was completely overwhelming. I was living here in New York while my children were still in Florida, so I was flying back and forth every week to visit them. And I am not a fan of flying. My anxiety was through the roof from being on a plane so often, and being physically far from my children for long periods of time also set my anxiety off. Being in a new job and a new industry didn't help either. Oh, and if you remember, in 2019, we were living under the first term of the wannabe dictator as well. So that was anxiety producing. So needless to say, there was a lot going on, and added to the heavy current of anxiety that I normally had, and I was a wreck. From the outside, I was holding it together, but my insides physically and emotionally were a tumultuous storm, churning day in and day out. I was looking for relief and decided to take a transcendental meditation class. A quick primer on transcendental meditation. It is a specific technique of meditation that aims to transcend the active thinking mind and reach a state of deep rest and inner silence. TM was developed by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in the 1950s. It is based on the ancient Vedic tradition of India and draws inspiration from the practice of Raja Yoga. And it was made famous in the West by the Beatles back in the 1960s when they went to India to study. TM involves repeating a simple, non-meaningful mantra, sound, silently to oneself while sitting comfortably, twice a day for 20 minutes. The mantra is specific to each individual and is taught by a certified TM instructor. And as the mantra is repeated, the mind is supposed to gradually quiet down and transcend into a state of restful awareness. Now, I'm not a TM devotee, and there are lots of things to critique TM for. Not the practice of meditation per se, but the people behind it. It is cost prohibitive, it is secretive in some weird ways, and like most things, white people have co-opted and made lots of money on something that was born out of a culture that is not theirs. It has strange rules, and the organization behind it is constantly trying to make money of folks. So this is by no means a commercial for TM. I think there are lots of ways to learn to meditate. And yet, with all the critiques, I had tried meditation before, apps and websites and classes and all sorts of things, and nothing had stuck. Maybe it was the timing of the class, perhaps I was finally ready, the stress of my life making me desperate for relief, but meditating in the style of transcendental meditation helped me tremendously. I learned how to be present, to sit and focus, and to listen to my body. And I learned that my anxiety was always trying to tell me something, even if it was on overdrive. I had to be present to listen and learn how to respond to it. Right now, there are so many things that make me anxious and worried, so many things for us all to be consumed by. And the thing that gives me the most peace is being in the moment, to focus on what I can control in the here and now, and remind myself to just be here. In the present, I can act instead of worrying about the future. Action for me sometimes looks small, like sending money to organizations sending relief and aid to Palestine, or pulling a Disney subscription, or cutting way back on the amount our family spends at Target. All ways consumer power can respond to corporate collusion with fascism. And sometimes action is a bit more risky, like speaking hard truths to my clients who are trying to figure out a way to make their DEI work safe. The reality is doing diversity, equity, inclusion work in any capacity right now, whether professionally or in our communities, is inherently not safe. There is no such thing as no risk diversity, equity, and inclusion work right now. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for our leaders to hear. But it's the truth, and Lizzo did say that truth hurts. So our job isn't to make DEI work safe, it's to build our capacity for taking risks and keep doing it anyways in all the ways we can. As a reminder for me to keep my anxiety in check, I tattooed the words just and be right here on the inside of my arms as a visual reminder that there is no moment but the now. So in the spirit of peace be with you from the Episcopal tradition that I grew up in, may you make time to just be when you feel fear or anxiety rise in you. And may you find the presence you need to take action, big and small, against all the cruelty and injustices in our world.
At its summer retreat, the Board of Trustees creates an annual focus of ministry to focus in on a particular part of the congregation's mission and vision. which it then delegates to the ministers, and we share it with staff and with ministry teams. And we incorporate it into other aspects of congregational life as well. Lynn mentioned this last week, and you'll hear it periodically throughout the year, and it's going to appear, yep, there it is. This year, our annual focus of ministry is to make courageous decisions with love at the center and take collective action to meet this moment together. There are several components here to pay attention to that reflect our current governance that are significant in large part because of the larger government mess, the constitutional crises that we are facing as a nation. Timothy Snyder, in his book on tyranny, reminds us that when the threats of authoritarianism are showing, do not obey in advance. And yet we are indeed seeing corporations, universities, some elected officials, judges, law enforcement bow down at the slightest whiff of conflict or the possibility of disfavor. Snyder reminds us to protect institutions. And we've seen day after day of attacks on institutions that many of us thought perhaps were untouchable. And yet they are struggling under the weight of pressure of this concerted, focused madness. So in the coming days and weeks, we will have decisions to make that may scare us. And our Board of Trustees says, remember our UU values. Put love at the center and make the courageous decisions that need to be made. And once those decisions with love at the center are made, take collective action, not individual action, not siloed action, not selfish action, not panicked action, not the action that you just want to take, but collective action, which requires some conversation and deep listening and will mean having some sense of the wider denomination maybe and or the wider community. And not just any kind of action, but action to help us meet this moment together. This past June at General Assembly, we participated, those of us who attended, participated in a new UUA campaign called Meet the Moment. We've shared an introductory video with several teams now, and the social justice team is going to host an important event here on October 26th to invite all of us to participate in that work. Stay tuned for circuits for more details. What I want to talk about today is the urgency of this moment, but in a particular way, because the urgency of this moment could get very overwhelming quickly. So we, all of us in our Zoom sanctuary and in this circle, are having a shared experience of our nation. We are watching the alleged president of the less and less United States lie, bully, threaten, manipulate, rail against norms, decorum, and diplomacy, refuse to abide by the U.S. Constitution or the rule of law over and over again. We are having a shared experience, but we are not all experiencing this moment the same way. The experiences of our lives have shaped who we are and how resilient we are or are not in these times. And each of us have strategies to cope with, suppress, or ignore what is happening within us. I would guess that most of us here agree that white Christian nationalism is bad for our country. It's dangerous for people of color, trans folks, non-Christians, immigrants, and women in particular, but all of us, really, because it's also an affront to our Unitarian Universalist values. But we don't all agree on how to stop them or the accompanying authoritarianism. And we are not all coping with this in the same way. Our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn reactions are stress responses. You probably know that. Our bodies, our brains, our hormones are trying to cope with the absolute onslaught of odious and outrageous evil. And each of us is doing that in our own ways. Those of us who tend to want to fight are perhaps wondering why the heck we have not already had a general strike, why so many seem to just be going on with business as usual, why corporations and universities and leaders in the nation and others are bowing down. Why wasn't he escorted off the stage at the United Nations this week when he insulted the gathering? Why isn't Congress and SCOTUS demanding accountability? That's fight. For those of us who tend to go into flight mode as a stress response, perhaps this is just too hard and you need to get away from it. We're wondering when it's just all going to be over. Maybe we'll get this sorted in the 2026 elections, but in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of focus on myself and keep my head down or take off, and I'm just going to take up a new sport and do that with all this adrenaline because I just need to do something with it. Or maybe we'll just wait it out and see what happens. Flight. For those of us in freeze mode, we might feel stuck. We might want to do something, anything to help stop all this, but it's like we're trying to think through glue. We're stopped in our tracks. What? Again? Huh? I've been in several conversations recently, maybe some of you have been too, where more and more of us are feeling that frozen stuck, our brains overwhelmed and less functional at rational thought, at constructive action. You maybe in those conversations have expressed needing help. Like if someone could just come up to you and hold your hand and say, "Come, let's do this one thing." At the beginning of the month, the members of the Survive and Thrive team introduced the Common Read by Deepa Iyer and her model of social change as an ecosystem in which we need people who are all different kinds of people, who have all different kinds of gifts and skills. In addition to frontline responders and disruptors of the protests, which is what we usually think of when we are in times like this, we also need the weavers, the experimenters, the visionaries, the builders, the caregivers, the healers, the storytellers, and guides. We need all of us. All of us. Because I too have been wondering, how do we stop this train wreck of a presidency before he fully topples democracy, or we are invaded by a foreign country because so many departments are led by people who are completely incompetent? I've been trying to pay attention to when I want to fight, when flight rises in me, and when I freeze. Some of us have one of those that we tend to go towards, and some of us react differently depending on the situation and our own resilience level. I have not, at least yet, experienced the fawn response with regard to the hostile government takeover. Not interested in placating and pleasing. In our Unitarian Universalist faith, we do not shy away from difficult things. And as things continue to escalate, so too might our stress responses. Has anybody been noticing that for the last 6 or 7 or so months? Maybe longer, yeah. So for those of us in fight mode, you might be feeling affirmed or some sense of gratitude or relief that we name here how messed up this all is, and that we maybe ought to be storming the castle before a mad king actually takes up permanent residence there. After all, we have nothing to lose but our chains. And for those of us in flight mode, you might wish we were talking about anything else. And for those of us in freeze mode, you might be okay with us talking about all this, but wish we'd give you some actual things to do to get unstuck. Whichever place you might find yourself on any given Sunday, you're invited to get curious about it, because all of them are legitimate. Our bodies have responses to stress. Any kind of stress, the stress that the nation is experiencing, or any kind of mayhem. They're all legitimate responses. And increasing our self-awareness that that's what our body is doing, and then increasing our other awareness that other bodies might be having a same or different response is also really important. When I open my heart and feel compassion on my good days and can extend it far beyond the usual circles, I think, who else is demonstrating a fight response right now, claiming we're enemies? And who else is expressing a whole lot of fawning, people-pleasing, smoothing it all over? Everything is fine and great. stress responses. The American Psychological Association says that resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. The ability to learn resilience is one reason research has shown that resilience is actually ordinary, not extraordinary. The APA says, like building a muscle, increasing your resilience takes time and intentionality, focusing on 4 core components: connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning can empower us to withstand and learn from difficult and traumatic experiences. In our last called ministry in California, there was an arts center that was a place for local artists and for community events. One year, we went to watch Tibetan monks in their beautiful robes make a large sand mandala. I no longer remember the significance of that particular design, and this is a photo from the internet, not my experience, because I couldn't find one of those either. But they are often hailing one of the Buddhas, the healing Buddha in the center, and then building tiny lines of colorful sand slowly through metal funnels. Complex symbology of Buddhist philosophy, elements of earth, air, fire, and water. It's beautiful and intricate, meditative and honoring. Now, stuff is going to continue happening until we all band together and refuse it. So we need some resilience training, some building our muscles of staying present even when it's hard, even when our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is provoked. And now, most of us UUs are not usually in the habit of telling each other what to do or what to believe. So I'm not going to do that. I am, however, going to name that in these shifting sands of rising fascism, I do in fact have a few things to suggest to build our resilience. They may be things you're already practicing, but if you've been in freeze mode, you may have forgotten you have these available to you, so I'm going to say them out loud. Reminders, perhaps, to move from our amygdala to our frontal cortex, and also to our hearts. 1, come to worship. In person when you can, on Zoom whenever else. Fostering community and experiencing a sense of belonging add to our resilience. All 4 components of resilience, as noted by the American Psychological Association, connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning, are inherent in congregational life. They are available to us all if we choose. Connection, a sincere hello, a hug, a high five, a conversation about things that matter. Wellness, breathing, meditating, singing together, caring for your body and spirit and for others. Healthy thinking, or another way to say that is to get a grip on your own perspective, not just filling your head with other people's podcasts, news, projections, predictions, substacks, articles, and workshops. Accepting that change is constant and ongoing, and that we have hard things to overcome. We have had hard things to overcome before, and we can do it again together. And meaning. Certainly, we explore about how we live and the meaning that we are making from our lives. Engaging in self-discovery by connecting with spirit and or asking or other humans, helping others through volunteering, asking good questions and listening for one another's answers. All of these can be abundant in congregational life. Come to worship, bring friends. People need community and a sense of connection with others who share their values, who want to make things better. And if you're not here, they might miss out. Come to worship for yourself and for others, even and especially when you are feeling afraid. 2, breathe consciously. During our meditation earlier, we were invited to notice that breath. When we give our minds something to focus on, it's a lot harder to catastrophize. Breathing consciously, even for a few minutes, can have a huge impact on our stress response. Letting the anxious mind ease, as LB noted earlier. And if controlled breathing adds to your stress, choose a mantra or a repeated phrase. Count slowly, speak the words of a poem, or just let the breath do what it's going to do and engage in a spiritual practice that helps you get present. Increase joy, number 3, and decrease doom scrolling. Seriously. Decide when you will look at your device or devices and when you won't. You can actually do that. You can actually decide when not to look at your devices. And if your job requires a lot of computer screen time like mine does, limit the scrolling time. Heck, set a timer. It's okay if you want to read the news or check on your favorite sports team results or wonder about the stock market or buy new slippers for the coming winter or see the funniest new meme or listen to your favorite content creators on your platforms of choice. It's fine. But if your scrolling feels obsessive or you're losing track of time or you're getting into arguments with family, friends, and or strangers, you might be cashing in on your well-being at a cost that is too high to bear. Maybe find something else that can give you a dopamine hit. Read something that inspires you. Write a card to a loved one. Put it in the mail. Or email someone something you're grateful for. Text a friend to just say you're thinking of them. Play your favorite song and sing and dance along. Refuse to give faux news any of your attention. Spend your mental time with people and information sources that share your values. Look for the helpers. Share the good news. Be part of creating good news. 4, try something new. Drive home a different way. I was inspired by Tom Compton a few weeks ago, naming that. Say hello to folks you come across throughout your day. Ask them how their day is going and really listen. Go to therapy. Write a poem. Volunteer for the 125th anniversary celebrations. Put affirmations on your mirror. Choose to offer exquisite care to yourself, your family, your friends, to anyone you see striving to do anything productive against this political debacle. I'm sure Tonko and others would love to hear from you, both what they could be doing and thank you for what they have been doing. During our staff meeting this week, Lily and our church administrator shared this poem by Britton Oakman for our chalice lighting. Britton wrote, "I lied and said I was busy. Well, I was busy, but not in a way most people understand. I was busy taking deeper breaths. I was busy silencing irrational thoughts. I was busy calming a racing heart. I was busy telling myself I am okay. Sometimes this is my busy, and I will not apologize for it." 5, immerse yourself in beauty. Make art, view art, go on an artist date, be with nature, Earth's art. Sit with a tree, marvel at sunflowers, let beauty nourish you. The Tibetan monks make these gorgeous mandalas of sand. And then after a while, whether it's a few hours or a few days, a ceremony of impermanence occurs. They take a small wooden or metal tool and drag it across the sand, sometimes using a paintbrush and artistic arcs from center to edge, almost like a pinwheel, to remind us of the impermanence of life and the Buddhist teaching that clinging or attachment can lead to suffering, because life is always changing. And 6, remember who you are, and remember who you are striving to become. Remember who you are and what you value. Figure out what and who you are willing to give your life to and for. When we start where we are present in this precious moment. We aren't worried about tomorrow or judging yesterday. And I know it can be hard to stay present with all of the onslaught that is filled with so much that opposes our religious values. We might want to cling to positive memories or imagine tropical island getaways. We might just freeze with inaction or fawn as we people please. But build your resilience to balance out those stress responses. Come to worship, breathe intentionally, increase joy, try something new, immerse yourself in beauty, and remember who you are. Think of these practices as your mental workout, or like taking vitamins, or drinking your water. This is for balancing our brains and hearts too. And I want to acknowledge that the amount of privilege it is to talk about strategies for coping with our stress, because hostages are still not home. Gaza's children are dying from violence and starvation, and Sudan's too. Immigrants are being rounded up with impunity. Trans people are still targeted. Nonprofits who care about many of the same things we care about are now being labeled enemies of the state. And the so-called president is going after everyone he doesn't like and pretending that that's okay. And the files have still not been released. This constant assault is by design. What I'm talking about today is dealing with the disorientation of the constantly shifting sands, not as if that is the end goal. No. We need to grow our awareness of our stress responses and one another's and build strategies to calm them effectively so that we can take action. Because as the great writer James Baldwin once wrote, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. It is deep spiritual work to notice these stress responses, to offer compassion for them, yes, even to those with whom we disagree, and then move into mindful strategic response rather than stressed out reaction. We must face what is happening and summon our courage by working with our anxiety, by being aware of our stress responses of fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, to use tools and strategies to quell them so we can change the trajectory and build immunity to this overdose of fear entrenched in duplicity and corrupt pedagogy of power over that denies that diversity is what makes America great. See, we're striving to be the home of the brave and the land of the truly free, protecting and correcting our democracy so that more of us can live and love and sometimes just be. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.